when I heard that was that it was you that would be interviewing, I got excited. Like, you're my favorite, and like it was a blessing. So thank you. Like, I'm really like excited for this one.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. That's cool.
Yeah. Um, so we got the Thrax tour coming up. What is your? This is the second one. It must have been a great time. What are some good, like great things that happened or memorable moments that happened on the last tour?
Um, I guess it's like, okay. So let's put this in kind of a different type of context. When you when you go on tour, especially after doing it for this long, I think it's kind of like you say, we're going to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when everybody goes to work, it's nice to go to a place where the environment and the people are really nice and cool and friendly, and it just makes things go that much smoother rather than going to work and having to deal with a bunch of shitheads. You know what I mean?
The story of my
So,
life.
so the thing with the Kill Switch guys, just think that they're just real down to earth type of people with a good sense of humor, and I think that's why it kind of works so well. And I of course enjoy the style of music and the things that they do, and I just think it was a really good meetup of music and of minds and just a good time. So I really think the audience enjoyed it too. That's why it was kind of popular. So
Yeah.
let's do it again.
Heck yeah. Um, I've done research and I've listened to other interviews you've done, and you don't make it any secret about the disdain for modern, not all music, but most modern music. Is there any new music or newer bands that you are listening to or have heard of that you are like, oh, I like these guys?
Whenever I find something that I like, I try to expose it to as many people as I possibly could because I feel um, if I could influence someone's opinion on something new, and it takes that band to a different level and it helps them, then I feel like, okay, great. I feel like I've done my job. I'll always post about it. Last year, I discovered this band called Greta Van Fleet, who had a
Oh yes.
an EP out, and I immediately just started, blowing that up, and and now I see that, a year later they're pretty much doing really well, and I'm really happy for them. And it's the same thing I felt about Ghost when I first heard them. I, you know, said this. I think this band is going to be really, are going to do really well. And it's just this. I feel like I've been doing it all my life. And back in the day, we used to take certain bands on tour to expose them to a bigger audience, just to help them out. And at the end of the day, what I always say is it's all about a song. Um, there's so many bands that have come out, and it's just about a style or it's about a vibe. But at the end of the day, there's no song for people to kind of latch onto.
Mm-hmm.
It to me, you want to go. You want to go see something, and you want to feel it. It's not always about the visual. It has to be about both. There has to be a fucking song. At the end of the day, there's got to be something that you could take away and hum as you're walking down the street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you because I know, you come from a time and era where music was sought after, where there's a lot of younger people who went to the record shops to listen to music or traded little tapes, and check this band out. Now that everything's pretty much at our fingertips, do you still have that desire to search out new music?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm still very much a hungry person for that type of stuff, because I still feel that there will be a movement again that happens somewhere. I don't know where, but there will be something else that happens that gets people excited again about music. Because what's been happening the past couple of years, if you've noticed, people have been going backwards and discovering things that have happened a while back. And what's happening as well is people are discovering these bands that are no longer existing, or all the members are kind of gone except for one, and they missed a boat on it because either they weren't alive at the time or they just didn't care about it, So what I'm seeing is a lack of anything new that's exciting and good. So people are going a little bit backwards and, oh, wow, how did I miss this,
Yeah. I've even found myself guilty of that too, in having that sorrow and regret. Going back to the 50s or the 40s, there came a time, like I created like a radio station for my community, which showcases all local talent out of Ventura County. And then we got attached with No Cover, and that's how we, all for the love of music. And because it seems like there was, like right now, everything's just, all right, money, money, money. Let's sell a little boy to a bunch of little teenagers, and let's make money. And it's like we're losing the art of music.
Well, so I would say in the late 90s is when music started to become different, and the way music was, let's say, marketed became different with things like the Britney Spears phenomena and the boy band and the boy band phenomena, and all of a sudden these music was being marketed to kids, and where back then, there was always going to be teeny bopper type of stuff. There was always going to be that kind of stuff. But now it was being treated as the most important, the priority. Mm-hmm. And then when you started seeing a magazine like Rolling Stone putting these things on the cover, it became something of a concern, because it's like, wait a minute, is this going to be the new normal? At that time, you started to have TV shows and like contest type of shows like American Idol, where you could be famous overnight. You didn't have to work for it. You didn't have to get in a fucking van and go across country to tour to make a name for yourself anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was just instant fame. And all of a sudden, that became the new norm. And things like award shows started to feature more of this stuff. And that, to me, right then and there, I believe, was the downfall of music, because it was like the beginning of things like Napster and, people becoming more computer savvy and file sharing. That, to me, was the point where everything started to go.
How bad did that impact you, the whole Napster, your guys' band, financially?
I mean, do you know the fact of the matter is, there was a time when I felt music was being sold for just a high rate anyway. It was crazy the prices of to pay for music, and I think people were starting to get a little pissed off about that too. All of a sudden, here comes this file sharing thing, and people started stealing music. And I do blame, as big as Apple is, and as much as I love things like my iPhone and shit like that, you also have to put blame there too for them killing the music industry.
Yeah.
And nobody really looks at that. And it really irritates me that people complain about buying music, but you'll spend fucking $500, $600, $700 on a phone. It's just the priorities are just absolutely all over the place nowadays.
You also mentioned American Idol, and I'm not a big fan of it. However, I have watched it a couple times, and is it me, or they do not promote creativity? They promote, can you fit the mold of what I think a musician should be on the surface, and not really, because a musician is an artist, right? It's not this robot, and that's what they're creating, is a bunch of robots. And then they're brainwashing our society with saying, oh, this is music, And
Right.
I don't know.
Just because your little girl could sing in the living room does not make her a star.
Yeah. Makes her a good parrot.
Yeah, it makes a good parrot. And yeah, she can mimic that Mariah Carey song or that fucking Whitney Houston song, but let's see her make a whole record. And granted, if you look at the odds of all the American Idol winners, you will probably name two that have become really successful and sustained it, and that would be
Carrie Underwood, and then
Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson, yeah. Those are the two.
Those are the two.
I only thought of Kelly Clarkson, and then Carrie Underwood, but I mean, yeah.
Oh, Carrie Underwood's huge. I mean, she definitely. The thing about both of those artists is that they knew the strongest genre that they started out as doing country and that's just the type of artist that Carrie Underwood was, and Kelly Clarkson had a great voice, and she's going to be a pop singer.
And I really didn't even like her. I just heard her on Stern, Howard Stern, like maybe 3 months ago. I was like, man, I think I like her now. And he has a way of doing that, but yeah, like I can feel her struggle and anyways. But yeah, you're right. The odds are, guess what? How many seasons have there been? 20 something? Only 2?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And for me, it's like, I often say this, that the type of music that I pick to play, probably not the smartest type of music, but it was music that I felt this is what I'd love to do. But if you understand what I'm saying, is heavy metal music is not going to be the award-winning, we picked a style of music that was it appeals to a certain demographic, and it's kind of looked on by people as heavy metal. It's funny whereas like think about this rap music when it first came out, people were like, that's not music and everything, and nowadays it's everywhere. You look at the top 10, it's mostly that kind of rap R&B type of stuff,
And even
I
that's
think
getting
it's
watered down too. You know,
oh,
it's all,
that's so oversaturated
yeah.
to me. It's just a bunch of people who don't really make music. They just make little stupid formu-
I know what you're talking
formulated
about.
formulated little things that, like it's dumbed down so much that people, you know,
It's
I crack up. I just crack up sometimes at what I hear. It's like, that's a real song. And then it'll just be like that same type of beat with like a bum, 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 bum. And then you got some guy just like singing about how much he loves weed or whatever. And it's just like, wow, this is where it's come. Like back in the days when you had real poets like Chuck Berry,
Chuck D.
Chuck D, and KRS-One, and just Eric B. and Rocky, all that type of stuff that was so good. Like nobody modeled themselves after those guys.
When and what was the last thing that inspired you?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I don't know. That's a really good question.
All right.
Usually a show. I'll go see a show, and not all of them will be inspiring, but sometimes one will kind of, or two will inspire me. Oh, actually, that Roger Waters show that I saw a couple months back was really inspiring, both on a intellectual level and a musical level, and on a spectacle level. Just what he was doing and how he was doing it, and the sound is just completely. My senses were just overloaded.
Nice. I always like to figure out or like know what kinds of things inspire other people. I watched like a musical the other day. I wasn't even expecting it. The Greatest Showman with Hugh Jackman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was like super inspired by that. I don't even know why. It was.
No, you're absolutely right. Certain things would inspire me. I watched this documentary the other night, called Trophy, and it was basically about hunters and the killing in Africa of species that are becoming endangered, and these hunters spend so much money, and then there's a whole thing that they're doing it, to conserve, and I think it's become such a political thing where they're saying they need to keep the population down, but statistically speaking, the population has gone down so much, and I don't know, man. I just like, just a human being that I am. It's like watching some of this, seeing some of the footage, and shooting a big elephant, and then hearing the thing crying because it was in pain. It was pretty
intense.
Yeah, and they were happy because this is what they went to do. I mean, they're hunters, and it's a totally different mindset. But for me, being on the opposite side, watching it and just hearing the animal suffer, I don't know, man. Just spiritually, I don't know if that's what we're supposed to do. If you are starving and you have to provide for your family, and that's what you need to do, and we live in a different age, then by all means that elephant's going to die, right?
Yeah.
But if it's just for a trophy, then I don't know. I have a hard time with that. Yeah, I just have a hard time with that. And if I posted something about it, I would get about 65% positive, and I would get yeah, I would get 35 of just like the opposite side.
Yeah.
Um, I posted something about 2 weeks ago when Donald Trump said about he has a bigger button and his button works, and it came down to it was because he was watching Fox News, and this is what they were talking about, and so a lot of times he just tweets after he watches a lot of that Fox and Friends shit, and I posted something and I said Fox News is going to get us all killed. Um,
That's the truth.
and
'Cause he just reacts off of it, you know?
because he reacts and he doesn't fact check, he doesn't do anything, he doesn't read newspapers. You know, he says he doesn't read.
Doesn't surprise.
And the thing that disturbs me the most about people who are pro-Trump is that they live in this bubble too, and they think that the other side lives in their bubble. And I for one, don't live in a bubble. Like most of my friends voted for Donald Trump, and so I said, okay, let's give him a shot. Let's see what happens. And then it just became a circus. And it was just, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And finally, I'm like, fuck this. There's no shots anymore. Like, this is not happening. And so I really think people have to think about what's best nowadays and not feel, maybe they feel embarrassed that, okay, we were wrong. And some people have a hard time admitting they're wrong. But I never understood with this whole make America great again. I don't understand what America they're talking about, that they want to make it that way again. Are we talking about 1957 America? Are they talking about 1987? I don't know.
I think they're just trying to be so vague just to, catch someone's attention. Because everyone in America, all we are is, like, honestly, we're just a bunch of complainers. I mean, you mentioned it on the social media. Guess what? I'm just going to... everyone feels like they have a voice now, and that they can just go and rattle things off.
Right. And then they criticize people in bands or actors or whoever, like, just shut up and play your music. I've gotten that so many times, and I think that in itself is disrespectful, because I, like you, I pay taxes here. I, like you, or maybe other people, have kids in school. I, like you, pay for this, pay for that, and I feel like my voice is just as important as yours. If I'm not happy with something, why shouldn't I say something about it? If I don't come from the I love Hillary. I don't come from the I love Obama. I don't come from the I love George Bush. I come from a place where I love, like, America. I like living. Okay, no matter what you think about if the Earth is round or flat, if there is global warming, if there is a climate problem, at the end of the day, we all have to breathe. Doesn't matter if you're a fucking billionaire. You could have the most money in the world, but you still have to breathe the same air that I do. So.
And I think there's two different kinds of people in America. The people who love America and want it to definitely prosper. And then there's people that love their party,
Right, party first.
All right, I got two more questions for you. I know you're a huge Star Wars fan. Who's Rey's parents?
Well, I could tell you that before I saw this movie, I was really, I had my views and I had my thoughts on it. And after this movie came out, I'm like, I don't give a shit who her parents are. This movie was terrible.
You didn't like it?
I hated it.
No. What was? Besides Kylo Ren in his no shirt with his big body and small head, what didn't you like?
I didn't like the Mary Poppins scene in space.
Uh-huh.
I didn't like the fact that how they did Luke. I don't believe Luke should have went out like that. I don't believe.
Was it hard to say goodbye to him, or do you just think that's just he should have went out with a more glorious?
Well, he's
death?
Luke Skywalker. Look what he's been through.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with the way they wrote him out. I don't agree with the way that they wrote out Han Solo either.
Yeah, I mean either.
So there's elements of the movies that I didn't like, but I did like the Force Awakens a lot better than this one. I felt this one was a cross between some of those prequels and the Force Awakens. There was good elements about it, but there was also really shitty elements. Like I felt, this is going to be a movie to market toys again, because they kept introducing little things again for kids, and I was getting a little pissed off about that.
I didn't even catch on to that, but you are right.
I didn't understand the whole Rose and Finn romance. I didn't see that coming, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I felt there was enough Chewbacca, and I just left there going, what the hell is that?
Fair enough. All right, and my last question is: I know you collect toys. I know you're a Star Wars fan, so this might be right up your alley. There's a show on Netflix called Black Mirror. Have you seen it?
Yeah. I haven't seen the new season.
Oh my god, the new season is ridiculous. It is so good.
Ridiculous bad or
No,
ridiculous
good? It's literally probably the best. You know, when I was like, oh, when's the last time you were inspired? Well, this really inspires me on a daily basis. And the new season is just like, it makes you just think, you know, and hope. It gives you hope for a future.
Can I tell someone to watch the new season without having watched the last one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And my favorite one of the previous seasons is like Carpentino, where when you die, your consciousness will live forever.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was the second season, or was that the?
No, that's the second season. Yeah, you're right.
Right, and then there's another one that I wanted to watch as soon as I get time, which was it called The Dark?
The Dark, is that a movie or a show?
I think it's a show on Netflix. I think it's called The Dark.
I'm gonna watch it.
But have you seen Three Billboards?
No.
That's a great movie. Have you seen I, Tonya yet?
No. That's on
a
my
good
list.
one too. Yeah,
Three
I enjoyed
Billboards.
that. Three Billboards is fucking awesome, man.
All right, man. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie, I'm grateful and thank you so much, and good luck on your tour, and also the DVD. Right? You have the DVD coming out.
Yeah. That's fun. So, cool. I appreciate it.
All right, Charlie. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Cheers, bro. Bye.
Bye-bye.